Hello everyone, my name's Leticia Savan and welcome to the International Opportunities Podcast. This series will give you an insight into our students' first-hand experiences abroad, whether that be a study exchange or work placement. From Fiji to Canada, our students have done amazing things abroad and we want to showcase that to all of you. If you're thinking about going abroad for your studies or for work, then this series will hopefully give you some inspiration, tips and advice. So today I'm joined by Freddie, who is a third-year film production student at the University of Salford. Earlier this year, Freddie took part in an exciting international study placement, which was at Columbia College in Chicago. So today we're going to chat about his experience from life in the city to studying film abroad and everything in between. Hello, Freddie.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me. Now, can you tell us a bit about your background and what led you to study film production?
So my background is very much was in theatre. All through high school and A-levels I did theatre, and then I from there grew a love of film and writing and poetry, and through that love of art and media I eventually decided I got so sick of theatre and doing those productions. I love it so much, I miss it so much, but and I went on, I decided I'm going to take on and go and study film and get into that world.
That's great. I'm like that. I'm a theatre student. I studied theatre here, but you always want to dip your toes in other things as well.
Oh,
definitely.
yes, absolutely.
Now, why did you choose Chicago for your placement and what drew you to Columbia College specifically?
The reason I chose Chicago was I knew from a very, very young age I wanted to go and move to America. And in fact, when I was looking at universities, I originally applied to a university in California. Unfortunately, for a myriad of reasons, that didn't come to fruition. But when I saw the opportunity, I came to Salford mainly because they offered the year abroad experience.
So you'd already heard about it before you came?
I heard about it during the intro day, and I was like, perfect, that's another way for me to pursue this route. And so it's always going to be in America, and I got told by my advisors that Columbia College was the best university in America to study film at. So I was like, no brainer, let's go.
Yeah. The industry there is absolutely incredible.
Oh yeah, so incredible, and such lovely talented people that are just eeping from every corner there.
That's great. And what was your course like at Columbia College? So what did a typical day look like?
My course was lovely because of the American education system and how flexible it is. It very much allowed me to take on and experiment with different areas in film that I wouldn't normally get the opportunity to, while also being able to customize my timetable to allow for days off and doing stuff the way that I find helpful. I very much prefer morning classes, and so I put all my classes in the morning.
So you could choose your classes?
Yeah, you can. The classes are already assigned time slots.
Oh, okay.
And so when you sign up for your classes, you just choose whichever ones you want based on whatever time slots you have available.
That's nice.
But it was very much a working uni. It was a university that was made for people who also had jobs and was working. But yeah, so my typical day was pretty much waking up quite early in the morning, going out and going to some classes, and then by 6 p.m. each evening I was completely done and I just got to relax.
Nice. That sounds like the perfect kind of day. But what modules did you take there and how were they different from Salford?
I took modules in screenwriting, assistant directing, producing.
Was that at Chicago?
Yeah, at Chicago. Nice. Directing, 2 directing classes, and also in casting. And that was what was different, is you could take like a course just for 5 weeks to get sort of an idea of how things worked. In particular, stuff like screenwriting and directing, and learning about how the Americans deal with the same roles and the same jobs in the same industry completely differently, and their approaches are very, very different.
It's getting a global perspective on the different industry as well. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
So much different to the UK.
It's invaluable, and most teachers there would have things to say about how the British approach stuff, and that was really interesting, seeing how we're perceived. And there were some fantastic conversations I had with teachers about how they respected how we did things, and me learning how I respected some of the ways that they approach certain aspects.
And were the lecturers sort of industry experts as well? Were they from the industry, or?
There was a range of talents, and a lot of them had a lot of experience in the subjects in which they're teaching.
Yeah.
But a lot of them were more at the end of their career than perhaps working in the industry like at Salford.
Now, were there any standout projects that you worked on during your time there?
There's a couple. I got the opportunity to work on about 20 sets while I was in America, different student sets. There's an incredible film, my first film I did there, which I very much got told later, I got very lucky. It was a thesis film with basically the A stars of Salford, Columbia's students, and it was a film called Puck, which was a Muppet-esque film, and I got to do sound for it, and it was absolutely fantastic. And it was about 35 people on set, and they had these incredible puppets that were acting alongside the students, and I met some friends that I still speak to now on that set. But so many, I got to work on so many sets, and so many of them were just such unique and well-tailored ideas, and every single one was an absolute privilege to work on.
How did you make friends on the placement?
Making friends on the placement was very much a mix. It was trying to keep a nice mix of peers in the same industry and peers outside of it. But I made a lot of friends with other international students because automatically you're united by the fact that you are all there abroad.
All in the same boat.
I've got one of my closest friends out there was this lovely Irish girl called Ameline, and it sounds so weird, but just in general, I am a very stereotypical Southern Englishman, and she's a very, very stereotypical Irish lady, and it was just like, you would never really picture us together, but we were just united by the fact that we were both there internationally, and we miss certain European traditions. And after a while, all my love to the Americans, you needed to hear a European accent. And there was just this love of just being able to talk to that kind of understood the same world.
Did you find it welcoming when you got there?
Oh, yes, extremely. They were very, very, everyone was so lovely. And a majority of people were just really fascinated to talk to you. And you very quickly realised that it may not have been more than a surface level conversation, but they kind of just wanted to say, again, with the small town mentality, they don't go abroad over there. Most people don't have a passport. And so meeting someone who sounds and talks like, for some reason, a lot of them have watched The Crown. A lot of them have watched Doctor Who.
As soon as they hear the British accent, they're like, oh my God.
And they've watched these films. They've watched Hugh Grant. They've watched these films as a child. They've watched TV shows. Oh my goodness, I met so many people obsessed with Doctor Who. I'm like, you know more than I do. How is this possible?
They do love it, honestly. I remember when I got to Canada, somebody came up to me and they were like, oh, you sound like you're from a Netflix film. And he was just so impressed by the accent.
It's absolutely incredible. And you're just there, and they just want to be able to say, oh, I've spoken to someone that's done this, and it is from this place that I kind of can't even picture. My favourite thing was always, whenever they tried to talk in a British accent, which none of them could.
No, they really can't.
They always got mixed up. They would always go for some reason, they'd go for a Southern accent, a bit like mine, because that's what they saw in The Crown, that's what they see. They see it as a very posh, refined accent. And then for some reason, all the slang they use was Mancunian, Yorkshire slang. And
so random.
You were just like, it just sounded so weird. And it was just you'd have people like go up and they'd be like, oh yes, and I'd have £10 please. And you're like,
it's not...
Everyone would say a tenner. It's like, it's so weird just like hearing people try and almost interpret what you said. But then again, I'm quite guilty. I did my fair few tries of American accents and making fun of the way they talk about things.
Yeah. I kept getting asked to say water bottle over and over again.
Oh yeah, water bottle.
That's the number one.
When I dated a girl while I was out there, and I would end up on a call with her while she was back home, and that's all her siblings were interested in, was hearing me say water bottle.
Come over and be like, please just say it one time.
Yeah, it's water bottle, Tuesday, like all the stereotypical ones. But they got so annoyed at this Tuesday one because they want to hear the funny version. And I was like, I don't talk like that.
Tuesday. Oh, now moving on to some of the places that you got to visit while you're in Chicago. Could you tell us about some of your favourite places that you went and saw whilst you were there?
Oh, there's so many. In Chicago itself, going to Millennium Park was absolutely incredible. It's iconic for a reason, but just everywhere you went was just seeping with, even though it's recent history, but there's reasons behind everything. And what's so good about it being everything being modern in comparison to here is nothing's really lost to history. So we did a architectural boat tour, and they're telling you about every single building.
There's so much that you don't even realise.
It's absolutely fantastic. Also, while in Chicago, me and my Irish friend Ameline, we travelled to go to Washington DC, which was absolutely incredible, and we went during Cherry Blossom Week purely by chance, and that was absolutely incredible. And we literally did 3 days in a small B&B in the middle of nowhere, and we did all the tours, went to all the museums, and I will never forget that. That was one of my favourite. It was a holiday in a holiday, and it was fantastic.
So cool, isn't it, when you get to explore whilst you're on the exchange as well?
And it honestly, I would have said my trip would have been a waste if I didn't get to go there.
Yeah.
It's such an important part of America and how it works. And I also got the great pleasure of visiting some relatives in California for Thanksgiving, which was, I mean, honestly, this year it's difficult for me to think that I'm not going to be doing Thanksgiving. I had such a great time.
It's a lovely celebration.
And I will miss it so much.
What kind of food did you have on the Thanksgiving? I remember there was like pumpkin pie in Canada. I don't know if they do it slightly different.
It was a very stereotypical almost. I don't think there's much different on that table compared to a Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
It was just
A lot.
And it was just this wonderful collection of their family friends, and I met these really interesting people. And it was so nice. And it was really also quite nice because they're my relatives. A big thing about being in America is, as a 19-year-old, at the time there was a lot I had to give up in terms of I was no longer an adult, which was really weird. I'd been an adult in inverted commas for 2 years at that point. I went to America and suddenly I wasn't treated like one. And the best thing about that holiday, to be honest, was the fact that I was suddenly treated like an adult again. And that was so lovely. But I have such fun memories. And the day after we went to Thanksgiving, we had a couple things to drink. And then the next morning for Black Friday, me and my cousin woke up at 6 a.m. to drive to Target to queue to get Taylor Swift's New Era tour book and her
that is dedication
and her vinyl. And you know what? It was probably unnecessary. I saw them on sale like a week later. But it was such a great, I got a proper Black Friday experience.
You're excited. Were the queues massive?
The queue was really big, and I got these great videos of us getting there. It's still pitch black. I'm still a bit hungover, and just running into Target, just trying to get in there. And I think we were like the third in there, and we literally got in, we got our stuff. We got 2 copies of the book each, thinking that we're going to resell it. I've still got 2 copies of the book. It's a great book. But it was just such an incredible experience. And it's just stuff like that. As small and insignificant as it sounds, that is the bits that you remember.
Yeah, definitely.
Of just actually getting a proper Black Friday experience, proper Thanksgiving experience.
Because you become their kind of citizen there, so you get to experience like an actual day in the life of living there. Whereas like if you go on holiday somewhere, it's not quite the same as actually staying and living there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I called it I always say I called it a lifetime in a year because you learn so much about yourself because you learn, what do I have to live a life in a year? And it is this weird knowledge of, on the day you leave, you don't have to talk, you can leave everything behind you. And you don't want to. Ideally, you don't want to leave it all behind you. And I'm very lucky I didn't. But there was this sort of comfort that I knew that I got to leave it all behind. And so I very quickly learnt what I actually needed to function as an adult.
Yeah.
And there's so much stuff I put off getting, and then I was like, oh shoot, I've only got 6 months left, there's no point getting that now. And actually it's like, you do need a lot more things than you think to survive. And there's a lot of times where you're just bored because you don't have the stuff. There's a great quote, someone else said it, and then Patti LuPone said it in her autobiography, and she said, I struggle without my things. I'm not all right because I don't have my precious things. Yeah. And Patti LuPone said it in regards to going on tour and with her theatre groups. And I think that's such a great way of summing it up. Yeah. You don't realise just how much you miss that weird trinket on your desk.
It's the little things, isn't it? Like, I had a little salt lamp in my old room, and I was like, where's my salt lamp? It just doesn't feel like... It's really strange having to adjust out of your comfort zone and find new little things that you find comfort in, and it is such a strange feeling.
And there's this weird feeling of, I've got 2 suitcases, and if I buy something, something's going to have to come out that suitcase that I came over with. And I think we threw out so many just blank white and black T-shirts that I own, because we're like, I can get those at home. It's more important to take stuff back for me and these memories back. Yeah. But it is so much of just this constant like balancing act of, what do I need to survive and what can I do without? And actually coming into this year, I was so surprised. I called my friend that I went over with, because I was driving up in the car, a full car, like with everything up for my apartment this year. And I was like, last year I had 2 suitcases. Where does all this stuff come from?
I end up accumulating this. Oh no, I got back from Canada, and they lost my suitcase at the airport.
Oh God.
And I'd been living off everything in that suitcase. That was literally, like you'd said, all my survival kit, everything I needed was in that case. So I came back with absolutely nothing, and it was about 3 weeks that I didn't have my suitcase for, and it made me grateful for those things in that suitcase and the survival items that you need. It makes you realise sometimes how much you do need those little things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just such a there's no other way to experience that whole like you're forced to be without stuff.
Definitely. It's such a big learning curve though. It really makes you out of your comfort zone, and like I'm very much somebody who likes to be in my comfort zone. I like my stability. I like things done in a set way. So going away for me as well was like such a big shake on everything.
It's a weird like break from like every routine, everything, you know. But it was such a I appreciated it for the opportunity it gave to grow past those routines and learn to adapt.
Change is okay. Change is not always a bad thing.
Exactly.
Like,
there's no better skill in life than adaptation.
Exactly.
And if you can adapt to living somewhere with no one for a year, then, you know, you can pretty much adapt to anything.
Definitely. And on those days where you said you felt like you were bored or like alone, because I know that feeling, some days you're just passing time. How did you like self-manage and get through the tougher kind of days on the placement?
It was one of those things. I always used to jokingly say if I wanted to have a breakdown, I had to do it before 2 p.m. Because at 2 p.m, all my friends back home, all my support system would be in bed. Well, they should have been. Sometimes they weren't, but that's a more indictment of their bad habits rather than the experience. And at that point, I really started to... I used to enjoy a bit of gaming. I didn't have gaming consoles. I didn't have anything like that.
How did you survive? I took my Switch at least.
I tried taking my Nintendo Switch and it just kept breaking. I was so annoyed. And I brought a VR headset the second term and I wore it like twice, and my roommate would just sit and stare at me because apparently VR technology is not something that's widespread in America.
It looks kind of creepy though when somebody sat with it on you.
It does. It looks weird. I appreciate that. You look like an absolute weirdo. But it was, But I very much turned back to my roots and I rediscovered I actually rediscovered my love of writing poetry, and
Amazing.
that was something that got me through a very hard time. And I had an incredible mentor who taught me poetry during a very, very difficult time in my life. And I turned back and I started writing poetry again. I started just actually to enjoy stuff. You forget, like, it'd been so long since I actually sat down and read a book.
Yeah, it feels like the COVID era again, though, doesn't it? When you
Yeah.
travel, like, you're forced to sit with yourself and rediscover the things that you enjoy doing. And
Oh yeah, absolutely. And because, weirdly, just because of how America is, I just couldn't go out drinking in the evening. And as weird as it sounds, that's how I'm used to making friends and
Yeah.
socialising. If it was a difficult day, you just call up your friend and you say, hey, let's go and have a glass of wine.
yeah,
Let's go have a nice evening. And you couldn't do that. In fact, the way we got around that was we went for coffee, but you're not doing that at 10 p.m. Like,
Yeah.
and so it was.
that's reserved for when you turn 25 like me.
Yeah.
Now I go for coffees instead of wines. But at your age, no, I get that 100%.
Yeah, but over the year, we went for I had so much coffee, it brought back a caffeine addiction that had not been prevalent since I did
Welcome
theatre.
to your 20s. And welcome to the 20s.
But it was so weird actually going and doing that 9 months sober. And
Yeah.
because it's weird, but alcohol does become such a big part of your life.
Yeah.
And having, I'm not too ashamed to say this, as someone that struggles with ADHD and apparently some form of autism and some anxiety, I got so used to in the evening when I wanted to calm down, I would just have a glass of something,
Yeah.
and it would that was just a part of my routine. I'd have a glass and I'd call my friends, and I had this weird thing suddenly where the calls I was having my friends to catch up, which was those deeper conversations you have in the evening, I was having at 2 p.m. And then I literally had to get off the call and go, right, I've got the rest of my day ahead of me.
Yeah.
And it was really weird. But you got used to it eventually, and it was just time. It just took time to get used to that adaptation, get used to that change, get used to just having company of yourself. And I ended up befriending my flatmate, a wonderful guy called Jeff, who was this absolutely incredible guy who you'd never place me with ever. And I love him to bits. Most evenings, especially in the second term, we would sit down. I taught him poker because I quite enjoy a game of poker.
It's a sophisticated game.
Yeah, he wanted to learn about the sophistications of being English. I was like, I can't do that, but I can teach you how to play poker. And I played poker with him almost every night. And we'd pick a random topic and we'd explore that topic. And it was really interesting talking to someone with a completely different education, a completely different view of life. He was this wonderful. He was also this. He was a trucker for a bit. He's this big black man who goes to the gym. He's like absolutely fantastic. I love him, miss him so much, and I hope he listens to this. I know I love you, Jeff. I miss you so much. And he just had this completely different opinion on life, and he was trained to be a cameraman. And we just sit and talk. And my favourite conversation we talked about difference between communism, meritocracy, and oligarchy. And we were discussing it on big scales, small scales, how running a business works. And it was just these fun hypotheticals. And that just became my clutch. And now suddenly I'm back and I've got my old support systems. And I'm realising, actually, I preferred the support systems that I made there because I made these when I was 20, not when I was 15.
Exactly. It is like you build a whole new support system out there as well. It's so great how you can be from such a different background and a different culture to somebody, but you can just get on so well and have the most amazing conversations.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things that you just do not get.
Yeah.
Even, you meet all sorts of different people, but at the end of the day, most of the time you're united by being British or being from the Commonwealth, or at least being European. And as much as we like to point out the differences, we're united by more similarities than most people would care to admit.
Yeah.
And it's only when meeting someone who has just come from a completely different background, experience, and life that you really start to explore parts of who you are that you don't normally get to explore.
Definitely. The people just also can light up certain things in you and bring certain sides of yourself out that you'd never even imagine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there's so much stuff. He helped me so much just with we had this great no dumb question thing where I asked the stupidest questions about Americans. He asked the stupidest questions about everything else, that stuff that I'm used to answering. And we just got in this great thing, and he saved my neck so many times where I was going to do something that would have been seen as appalling. And he was like, no, I would not do that. But he'd also explain why, which I so appreciate. It's so important to explain why. And it's to realise that ignorance isn't always born from malice.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's just born from not knowing. Yeah, and just because someone is ignorant doesn't mean they necessarily mean to cause offence in any way. And being able to have those conversations and unite them.
The fact that you can both be open to those discussions as well, and both be open to educating each other and learning from each other.
Oh yeah, and by the end of the year, we had this lovely last conversation, and I generally felt if I brought him over here, he would be more than capable of being perfect. He would just fit in perfectly. He would be able to say the right things, do the right things, know our traditions, and understand everything. Likewise, he said something similar to me, and he said, if I took you to where I grew up, you would not have much problem with that as well. And I really appreciate that. And if that's not the purpose of being friends with someone, is growing to the point where you're able to be like that, developed as a person, then one of my, generally, out of all the people I met on that year and everything I went through, there was no person that I consider more of a success story than my friendship with him. And it was so brilliant.
That's so lovely. Even just making that one friend from an experience, though, it's just so important. You'll be friends forever, no doubt.
Absolutely. I hope so, and I hope to see him again very, very soon.
Have you got any plans to travel over again or visit anybody?
I would really like to. I plan to hopefully move back out there to pursue film in a more permanent status over there. When that will be, I don't quite know. I'm hoping as soon as possible, and when I do that, I hope to reconnect. And because I met so many wonderful people. Not only him, I met so many wonderful people on set there and colleagues who I am still in touch with, and I send them texts every now and again. Most times saying, "What on earth is this?" Something's happened, but also they send me lovely messages, and it's so I miss them so much, and it was so weird. I was going up there, and as a filmmaker, collaboration is everything, and you have to know people, and it's an unfortunate fact that it does come down to who you know, and I'm very blessed because of my background in theatre. I knew so many actors. I had my editor, I had my producer, and it's been lovely to come back to them. But actually, now I'm missing all those contacts I made in Chicago.
There as well, but it's great because you can network globally.
That's the wonderful
building
thing.
Building your network even more.
I've got two filmmaking friends that live in Singapore now, and that's great. So cool. And I can't wait to hopefully see them again at some point. And being able to say I've got filmmaking friends everywhere is such a fun flex to have.
It is, isn't it, though? This is what I love the most about these exchanges as well, especially for the arts industry too. It's so great to be able to expand your network overseas. I know in Toronto, I made some great connections over there, and they're like, please come over and do something over here with us.
And the other day I actually someone mistakenly messaged me asking if I'm around to do boom mopping. I said, not
fly out right now. I'm on my way.
I said, as long as you have bed and board, I'm on board, but it's no, but and it's a shame, and I really miss being able to work with them because it was so lovely. And they complimented their attitude. They came from filmmaking at such a different perspective, which I loved. Their sets were way too polite. I did not like that. But every now and again you need someone to be a bit harsher. And there was this aura of politeness, and people didn't want to offend other people, and that's all well and good. But the fact of the matter is, you've got 3 hours to get something done, and sometimes you need someone to be a bit harsher. But you know what? I've made so many friends there, and I made so many friends on set. and it's so wonderful.
With the film scene in Chicago, obviously it's a lot different to the UK. How would you compare the whole industry, well, the industry as a whole?
It was so communal. There was much less. I love competition. I very much enjoy competition. I think competition is great. I didn't feel like a competition ever there. I never felt like anyone was against me. And that comes with pros and cons, because having people against you forces you to improve and keep
it
going.
motivates you more to.
But then again, apparently they don't need that, because but it was so communal, so much work just from references and just from someone going, I worked with Freddie on this, you need a boom op, Fred can come do that. Yeah. I love that, because that doesn't tend to happen as much here. There's a lot more just trading in chips almost. Like, if I'm going to recommend someone for a job, that you'd only do that if you know that they'd recommend you for a job at some point. And it's a lot more like trade in chips, and I like that system. I work it's a system I grew up with. You know, it's the game I know. But I do just love the communal aspect, and how everyone was a united front, and you know, the DOP on one set would be working on another set for the person it was just their PA, and the PA would be the DOP, and they'd just be a PA. And I think that's brilliant, because there's so much pride in film of once you get to a level, not going back beneath. And so there was this lovely flexibility of just, you know, on one set I was a boom op, on the next I was sound mixer, and the next set I was a boom op for this person that was a boom op on the set before. And there's no harsh thoughts. You respected who was in charge that week, and you just got on with it. And I think that's really, really lovely. And I think that's something I wish we saw more of here, was just this willingness to not only put aside any feelings and just to work together and build something together, but also this belief of hey, going onto a set as a PA is actually just good fun, you know, just love of the game. I felt every single person out there was just doing it for love of the game. And that's so important, and I wish that's something that was more prevalent here.
In Chicago, did you find any cool film spots? Anywhere that you recognised?
We found a couple. The biggest one for me is someone that quite enjoys superhero films was Nolan's Dark Knight.
Oh, yeah.
Gotham was based on Chicago.
Yeah, exactly.
And seeing all the underlayers. Unfortunately, we really tried. I can't remember if the person I went over with, my good friend Ella, I can't remember if she went to it in the end, but I really want to go see the Home Alone house. But
no way.
Unfortunately.
I didn't know that was there.
Yeah, it's just quite a bit out there. The public transport system there is a work of something that is not an angel. And it was just it was very difficult. It would have been a day trip to go see it. Yeah. And unfortunately, by the time I got round to go and see it, I unfortunately got ill. No. And so I couldn't go see it. Side note.
Well, you can bank that one for next time you go then, definitely. Did the city inspire any creative ideas or projects or films you were looking to work on? Or is there something that you can't talk about?
Yes. It has very much inspired something that is being worked on.
That's exciting.
That I will say tackles a lot of... I'll talk about some of the interesting stuff it tackles, which is something that I very much dealt with going over there, which was this idea of I went over there with my life experiences, being very, very privileged to have a certain level of education, that allowed me to be quite knowledgeable on certain topics. And I went over there with all this knowledge and experience, and I was dealing with people who perhaps didn't understand some of that stuff, and particularly when it came to social stuff. Right. And there was just this thing of, we went into these people's lives and we messed around. I dated someone Is it right we get to just go over there and get away scot-free? There's no consequences for us. No one knows what happened out there. For as far as everyone listens to this knows, I could be completely lying the whole time because no one will know other than me and Ella. And there's some power to that, and there's a responsibility that comes from that. But we acted, as far as we're aware, in the best moral capacity without carving up our own lives and carving up our own sense of self.
Yeah.
But it was just this idea that I wanted to tackle, and I wanted to tackle this idea of how right is it for someone to enter someone's life, carve it up, and leave some hole in the pieces, whether for morally good or wrong reasons, or I don't have much more to say. If you want some more, you can hopefully see a project soon.
Watch the space.
But it's something I'm very looking forward to, and it's something that I've been putting a lot of thought into.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've not heard that perspective before as well. It's interesting you say that. Did you get the chance to attend any festivals, screenings, or industry events while you were there? I got to
attend a couple. The one that I think was the most important was every single week there was a screening of a film, and sometimes a couple months in advance of the film releasing. And the most prominent one I got to go see was Wicked.
Oh, cool.
I got to see Wicked about a month early.
No way, that's
for
so
free.
Good. For free?
And we got free merch. It was absolutely incredible. We weren't allowed, they took all our phones off us.
Really?
There's no spoilers because it's a bad musical, but Act 1 is incredible. I'm not going to be watching Act 2, but it was such an incredible watching this early and being able to go, I messaged my old drama teacher and I was like, I got to see Wicked. You have to wait another month.
Was that just specifically for students there on the course?
Yeah, so any student I believe, doing any course, but particularly the creative courses, we got an email and it'd say, screening coming up for this film.
That is so
and
cool.
They were mainstream films. They weren't perhaps Marvel films, but like they were Wicked. There was Megalotropolis, which was awful. There was Better Man. There were so many. I can't list them all off. But if I still annoyingly get the emails. I'm like, oh gosh, I really want to go to that. I'd
Stay
love
on that mailing list.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Now, we've kind of gone through a little bit about the skills and things that you've gained during your placement, but what new skills or techniques would you say that you gained from the placement?
I'd say mainly the ability to work with people who are completely different to yourself and have completely different morals and standards and belief systems than you do.
Yeah.
And being able to adapt your working style. And particularly the thing about me was I went over there thinking I wanted to be a writer-director, and I left there knowing I was going to be an assistant director / producer. And so that shift also meant a shift in responsibility, because I went from a role that, to be frankly honest, doesn't really have much responsibility in terms of the overall structure, to 2 roles, which is you're in charge of everything. And it's all about working with people. And I loved working with all these really unique voices, and that was something I really just learned. I learned to appreciate. I learned to appreciate different opinions. I learned to appreciate different things. I don't think I was necessarily bad at that, but just on a grander scale. And it's just one of those things where it was just suddenly learning that, you don't have to be critical of stuff. You don't have to be, you can just enjoy and just experience and just listen to other people.
Yeah. And
their opinions in particular.
And has the experience changed the way that you think about filmmaking or storytelling?
Massively. As I mentioned before, I really got back into my poetry this year, and I started thinking of films and storytelling as just another form of poetry. and just how I approach it with much more methodical. Every word needs to have a meaning. And I realised that there's so much more to say about every single topic, and it's important to get those opinions across.
Yeah.
So the most fascinating talks I had, one of them was talking to my roommate about Sinners. I absolutely love Sinners, but hearing his opinion as a black man on Sinners was even more enlightening than, you know, who cares what I think? You know, the film's not about me or for me. It's and it really, really opened my eyes into how I go about telling stories and the importance of it. It's so important to understand the opposing belief to that which you're tackling. Yeah. And I fear too many people go and tell stories that they either are so blinded by one side of, or so biased that they can't even begin to comprehend there's another side to it. And we're seeing this more and more, and in a lot of student films, they just tackle one thing. They think, oh, only got 15 pages, I can only tackle this. And now I'm like, well, if you can't tackle the topic, then you're choosing the wrong topic. Yeah. It's so important to be able to talk about this stuff rationally, and the lack of communication can be certainly attributed to a lot of things in the world right now. And so if we don't bring that communication and this way of looking at beliefs from a bipartisan middle point into our storytelling, then it's just going to continue on with more biases. Yeah,
I completely agree. Now, how has the experience influenced your future goals or career plans?
As I touched on earlier, I now plan on moving to the US in the future. That was always kind of in the cards, but it was made by definite by this trip. In particular, me going to California for Thanksgiving. I was just there, and I woke up every morning. I said, "This is where I want to live. Yeah, this is where I want to be." And and as I said earlier as well, I completely changed where I wanted to work in film. I realised that I prefer working with people. I prefer actually being someone who not only, writing and stuff is fun. I enjoy it. It's my main output in forms of poetry and scripts. But actually, I prefer being there and helping other people create their vision. Yeah. And being there, supporting them. And that's so much fun in itself, and that's so fulfilling in itself. And so settling on being an assistant director was so rewarding. And the films I've made as assistant director has been some of my favourite storytelling experiences.
Do you find it's helped with your final project at uni this year, because you're in your final year now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because no one wants to be ADs, and I don't understand it. Assistant directing is the best job on set, and I know I just said about not talking with bias, but I'm talking with bloody bias here.
Bit, yeah.
Being AD is so much fun, and it's so rewarding. And the best bit is you don't get in trouble. If it's bad, I was just the AD.
I was just the AD.
If it's good, I was the AD. It's fantastic. But it's just, it's so much fun. And not many people, it looks like, are too interested in being ADs. And that's completely understandable. It's a lot of work, and it is constant work. And people cannot be fun sometimes. Yeah. And it's a lot of dealing with people problems. But when coming back, and we don't unfortunately offer an AD class here, so not many people have got the opportunity to properly experience and properly been trained on how being an AD works. Yeah. And so hopefully I've got a project jamboree this week, and hopefully I'm able to just rock up and say, hey, I'm trained to be an AD.
I'm the AD now.
Who needs one? And I'm hoping to have a pick of a lot, but we'll see.
Now, what advice would you give to other film students that are thinking about studying abroad?
Do it. Just absolutely do it. It is a very daunting idea, but the fact, and especially the idea of leaving in the middle of it in such a collaborative. I appreciate that when going abroad, you think this is such a collaborative thing, and what I'm basically doing is starting again in my second year of uni, and it's daunting. And I've come back and I feel like I don't recognise anyone, and it's weird, but even my first week back, I've remade friends and rekindled friendships. And so don't worry about that. If you can talk the talk and walk the walk, you'll be fine. But there's nothing more invaluable, and there's nothing that will place you further ahead than just going and actually experiencing life. Film is all about telling stories, but how the hell can you say you can tell a story you haven't actually lived one that's interesting or diverse? But
yeah, I'm nodding my head right now.
Yeah,
I could not agree more. It just gives you that life experience, a completely different perspective. You make so many connections. There's just so many amazing things that you get from it, and every single student that I speak to that comes back just says to me like this. I was thinking as you told me your advice then, I've heard now 20 odd students say the same thing: just do it. You will not get this experience any other time.
Yeah, and when else, as I said earlier, when else do you get the experience to have a year to yourself?
Exactly.
There's no one else that's going to know what's happened. You can experiment. I had a long conversation with myself before I went. I was like, hey, who do I want to be this year? There's something I want to try.
Yeah.
Do I want to try being more open? Do I want to try going for it and being more of a go-getter? And I settled on a version that I was happy with, and I really enjoyed it. And it's just this opportunity to experiment and try different versions of you that don't normally get to be put in the forefront. And you get to break the seal on so much stuff. And if it goes wrong, you're leaving in 4 months.
Exactly.
Like,
you just get to go and experiment with who you want to be and find yourself. It sounds so like cliche and cringe, but it couldn't be like more true.
Absolutely. It cannot be further from the truth.
Yeah, I had a life coach before I went out / therapist. She's like alternative therapist basically, but she does life coaching and stuff. And she said to me before I went out, like, you get to be whoever you want to be while you're there. You can go out there and invent a new version of yourself and experiment with it. And what better opportunity for you to go and do that? Yeah,
exactly. It was the first thing I told when I went out there. One of the first things I said, everyone always asked me had I met the Queen, and I said yes.
You've met the Queen?
Absolutely not. I've never met a
Every
single
British
member.
person has met the Queen. Don't lie.
Every single person has. And also that tea time trend was a thing on TikTok, and everyone was asking about that.
What's that?
There was for some reason, there's a TikTok trend of an alarm going off, and there was being like the tea. You have to drink tea at this time in England, and it's this really weird trend. But all the Americans were asking about it. Of course, we're like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we do the tea time trend.
You know what?
Believe in it.
I became such a stereotypical Englishman. I don't like tea. Last year, I drank so much. I imported English breakfast tea in just because I was like, I just wanted it. I started watching football. I don't enjoy football. Who enjoys football? Or most people enjoy football.
You're just representing while you were there.
I was just like, for some reason, these weird things that I've never really considered to be parts of me. I just became the most stereotypical. I started saying bloody hell, just going down that route completely of just
so funny.
Being so stereotypical. And part of it was and part of it was just you trying to hold on to your culture.
Yeah, 100%.
But it was the funniest time, and there'll be times where I'll be out with my English friends, and we'd have said something. We're like, where on earth did that come from? We don't talk like that. We don't do that.
I feel like the more I'm around people that aren't northern, the more northern I go, just to try and hold on to my northernness, and I'll find my accent gets stronger. But you do just try and hold on to your
absolutely.
identity.
I just say, I feel people either go one way or the other with that. But I've come up here, and I feel I become more southern when I'm up here, and my accent becomes more posh. Maybe that's because I got more and more people telling me my accent's posh when I'm up here that I start thinking I sound more posh. And then it was the same going to America where I just became so stereotypical, and it was the funniest thing in the world.
You've got to play on the stereotypes sometimes.
Absolutely. It was so great.
Now, just a fun question to end the podcast today. If you were to make a short film inspired by your time in Chicago, what would it be about? You've actually said you might be making a film, so.
I'm trying to think on the spot of another.
So another idea, because we don't want you to spoil yours.
If I create a short film, that is a great question. I think I would probably make it on just the. I think I'd probably make it on the top, just trying to hold on to, like, your culture and just trying to find a way of making your culture work. But there was so much funny stuff that happened from misunderstandings, from saying words that is completely normal to you. A tamer example is one of my friends said that she slagged someone off. As most people would hopefully listen to this, I assume target.
Yeah, it's not.
That just means insulting someone.
Yeah.
You're mean to someone. You're mean about someone. You slag someone off. You're mean about them. The Americans thought it meant prostituting someone.
No.
They took the exact definition of the term, and that's what they assumed it meant. And I think it would be about that. There's so much funny stuff. There was much. When I say that was the tamest I can think of, that was generally the tamest. I said, by American standards, I said some horrendous things out there. I did not mean whatsoever. But just because
what I meant.
The meanings are so different to terms. I think it would just be a short comedy about about just cultural differences, because there was just so many, and and they're funny. The differences are funny a lot of the time.
Is there anything that you want to sign off with before we end today?
I'll just sign off by saying it was generally, I consider the last 12 months of my life, including coming back, have been 12 of the best 12 years, 12 of the best months of my life. It was so rewarding, and I could best describe it for me personally as a victory lap. It was everything that I had learnt so far in life, and I got to put it to a test. And even when looked back in at bad times, because some of it was, like everything, there's ups, there's heaps and troughs, and by golly, sometimes there was troughs. But I look back at it and I go, I got through that because of everything before that. And I just look back at it with so much positivity. It was generally the best year of my life. And I've come back this year knowing that it will never be topped. And it's this weird thing, but almost comfort that I will always have those memories and always have that experiences. And it makes me unique. And that's what's fun. I didn't have a gap year. I didn't do that. I did this instead. And I knew I was going to do this instead. And, everyone's done a gap year. Everyone's doing work placement, and they're going over with their friends. People go travelling with their friends. And although it's all different experiences, and by golly, I know backpacking and during gap years is difficult, and that's very similar.
Yeah.
But no one else that I know, other than the people I went over with, obviously, that I know has gone to another country and lived there for a year and just had to operate and had to actually live there. And that is an experience that will just truly set you apart, and there's comfort in that, and you just know you can do whatever.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming in as well and talking to us and sharing your experiences.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so lovely chatting with you.
If you listeners want to find out more about study exchanges or work placements, then please visit the Student Hub International Opportunities page. There you can find out about our drop-in sessions, application processes and partnerships. I'll see you in next week's episode, where we'll be hearing from more of our amazing students about their overseas placements. Please like, share and subscribe to this podcast so you can hear more, and we can spread the word about our international opportunities. We'll see you next time.